Hello and welcome back to Super Smash or Pass. Today we're talking about the protagonist character of the first game in the Earthbound series, Ninten.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
So Ninten first made his appearance in Mother in 1989 for the Famicom, and this was a Japan-only game for a majority of its time. It never came over here on the NES. Its sequel, which you probably know a lot better, is Earthbound, which starred, of course, Ness, and then had another sequel which starred Lucas, which is Mother 3, which was also a Japan-only game. Now, in 2015, this game was ported to the Wii U, and with that came a localized version for us here in the United States and around the world internationally. And that is Earthbound Beginnings, which of course was a Wii U port. So as for Ninten's moveset, the character is very, very similar to Ness. Now, both in design, but also sort of in the moveset, because Ness and Lucas don't actually use moves that are theirs in their games. Some of their moves are, but a majority of the other moves are borrowed from other characters in their games. For example, I know a lot of Ness's moves come from Paula, that kind of a thing. And Ninten would probably have to do the same sort of thing because he's kind of more of a healer and like a stat raiser than an attacker, so that wouldn't work out for Smash. For this reason, I think Ninten could very easily adopt the same moveset that Ness and Lucas has, maybe with a few variations to it, similarly to Lucas, but we're kind of looking at a situation where it's like Fox, Wolf, and Falco, you know what I mean? It's going to be very similar characters with slight changes between the three. Now, one thing Ninten does have that would differentiate him a bit more is that he has a boomerang that he can use instead of the yo-yo that Ness does, and that would make him a little bit more different and give him a bit more range than Ness and Lucas have, which would be welcome to the character. For his final smash, I think he should use PK Beam instead of the PK Starstorm that we usually get, and that Anna should show up, or Anna, I don't know how you pronounce it, probably Anna, shows up to help him do the beam, because I think that's also from Mother that they both did that, but also it's more Anna's move than it is Ninten's. And this would be similar to like how Paula and Pooh and Boney and Kumatora help out Ness and Lucas respectively. I think it's just something that would add in. I wanted to add someone else like Teddy or someone in here, but none of them are PSI users, so it wouldn't make sense to have them there. So I guess it's just Ninten and Anna. Now, when we talk about relevancy, it's pretty much a pointless discussion when it comes to Earthbound, because of course Earthbound is not relevant. Earthbound hasn't been relevant for a very, very long time, since the GBA in fact. And it's almost actually pointless because Lucas was added to Brawl. There was no reason to add Lucas to Brawl. It was as dead and as irrelevant as it is today back then, so there's really no point in it. Yes, Earthbound Beginnings being re-released in 2015 is a good help with that, and obviously that's the same year that Smash Bros. Was released, but I don't really think that impacts relevancy a whole lot, because I think even to pick up that game, casual gamers, casual Nintendo fans probably didn't pick that up anyways, because most of them probably didn't have a Wii U, so what's the difference there? Although I do want to make a point that the relevancy is not, I'm not going to count that against Ninten, because I don't think that's fair. I think that counting that against an Earthbound character is sort of pointless, because if they want to add them in, they're just going to add them in. It's not like a character what you have to look at like Crash Bandicoot or, I don't know, Spyro or some of these other characters we've looked at and see if there really is a reason to add them in, because Earthbound as a series has already made its mark, and I don't think it needs to continue to make a mark, because it's left behind a huge, huge legacy. Although I could see why Nintendo would be hesitant to add a new Earthbound character for that reason as well, though. I do think an Earthbound or Mother rep, whichever one you prefer, would be a good addition to this game. I think Ness and Lucas already do a really good job representing it, but I don't think there's any harm in adding a third character, especially a character from Mother 1, because that game doesn't have a representative in Super Smash Bros. Right now. The only issue I find is that Ninten would have worked incredibly well as an Echo Fighter, and I don't think he would work as well as a Clone Fighter or as a standalone fighter, because we kind of already have Lucas. I don't think we need another one of those. And since we're not getting new Echo Fighters as Smash Bros. DLC, I don't think Ninten has much of a chance. On top of that, there are just other characters from the franchise that are much more interesting that you could add in as a playable character. Starman, Gygus, Porky. There are just more interesting characters from this series who could be added in, and I don't mean that to take away from Ninten. It's just the fact that him and Ness are very similar characters, even down to their design. So I don't feel like we need both of them in here. So obviously that leaves my verdict as game over. And yep, it's just how it is. I just don't think there's enough here for Ninten. As an Echo Fighter, I would think it'd be fine. I was actually rooting for him as an Echo Fighter, and I think if they're going to do more Echo Fighters, he's a good candidate for that. But as a standalone fighter, I just cannot see that happening. But of course, that's just my verdict. Let me know in the comments and on our polls on Twitter and Instagram and here on YouTube whether you think Ninten should be a new character and whether he should get a ticket into our DLC character prediction ticket system thing. And of course, we go to last week where you guys voted to give Chrono a ticket in our DLC prediction characters. And if you want more information on that, check the link in the description. There will be the first video of the series where you can look at all that stuff, and also a brief write-up in the description if you don't know what the DLC ticket system is. Alright guys, so that's all for this week's episode of Super Smash Bros. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, share this video with your friends, do all that fun stuff down below, blah, 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 YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And I'll see you guys next week with a new episode, or Thursday, if you want to watch. Let's talk about this. This is a weird outro, I don't know.